Good morning. So I'd like to call the May 25th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Please stand if you are able and join us in stating the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Due to the ongoing pandemic, we have been continuing to limit the number of individuals in our public meeting room and offering access to our meetings via Zoom, which is allowed per code section 21.8.1. With that, is there a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Basil and seconded by Merkin. Basil? Aye. Merkin?
Aye.
Heddens? Aye. We will now open public comment number 1. This is the comment period for the public to address topics on today's agenda. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? If so, please raise your hand on Zoom or unmute yourself doing *9. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, not seeing anyone moving for public comment. We will close the public comment period. And we'll move on to an update from the Office of U.S. Representative Feenstra, Emily Swickerwath. And she's here.
Hello, my name is Emily Swickerwath, and I'm Congressman Randy Feenstra's District Director. I kind of oversee his Iowa operations, staff schedule, and then I also go to meetings kind of on the eastern half of the district. So I'm your best point of contact if our office can ever be of assistance or help in any way possible. The Congressman sits on the Agriculture Committee, Budget Committee, and the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. So he's pretty focused on those areas, but by no means are those his only areas that he's working on. I've had the opportunity to work with Linda a little bit on broadband and just where the Congressman stands, especially as the infrastructure bill is working its way through Congress. That's an area that broadband in rural Iowa is, or rural areas of the country is looking to be expanded upon. And one thing I've talked about with Linda on that is that Congressman is very supportive of 100 up and download speeds wherever possible, and making sure that we're building infrastructure that isn't only helpful for today, but helpful in the years and the technology advancements of the future. With that, I think you all have my email and phone number, but I'll leave my business card. The Congressman used to be a city administrator and county treasurer before he served in the state senate. So he really does have a place in his heart for local government, and you guys are the ones making the tough decisions that truly impact citizens every day, whether it be with roads and bridges or local ordinances. So please let us know if the federal government can ever be of assistance or if we should step out of the way as well. But with that, just really appreciate you guys allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. And it's very nice to hear somebody talking positively about local government and understanding the value of it. So, and we'll be in touch again on the broadband study. The survey just completed, and we're hoping soon to have some results. And we'd like to have you help us out with some of that. And figure out where the federal monies are going to be and how we make the best use of all the pots of money available.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. And I appreciate the connection. We've talked on the phone, so it's nice to have the connection here. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, nice to see you face to face.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, I should say, Wayne Swickerwath is my dad's first cousin. So, if anyone's wondering.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to agency reports. We have the bridge. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a second, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should have sent you an email about this, but would you like to recognize that it's been a year since George Floyd?
You can recognize. Do you want to do it this particular time?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that it's been a year since the death of George Floyd. Just all the changes that have happened in our nation and around the world, really, and just take a minute to reflect was all. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged that anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Good morning, Jody. We have
Good morning.
Report.
Yes. Thank you, first of all, for the support you've always shown our organization. Back when we were the Emergency Residence Project, and the support you continue to show us as the Bridge Home today. Especially thankful are our clients that we serve, which our numbers, which I'm sure is no surprise, are continually increasing. So I did provide you with a report, and I guess first I would like to start to see if there are any specific questions anyone has for me.
It didn't take too long to read your report. Is this your abridged version or is this your full report for the year?
That is the report that we send out to all of our donors, to the community, to our supporters. We have this year a very much more detailed report we use internally. That's a report to our board on our business plan. So that is also out there, but you have,
Here's the kind of question that brings up to me. You say 927 individuals received homelessness prevention support. How many of those were actually in shelter beds or contracted beds? All of them?
Our prevention programming prevents homelessness. So those are not for people who are in our shelter program. When you're looking at our shelter program, that is a different number, as is our housing number and our outreach numbers. So there's a variety of different programs, all totaling to that 13,000 individuals that we helped. We provided more than 86,000 nights of shelter.
How many individuals is that? I'm not finding that. How many individuals were sheltered? Those 8,600, that's nights. How many people?
I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time hearing.
I see nights. How many individuals were sheltered?
How many individuals were sheltered? That was a little more than 750.
And what was their average length of stay at the shelter?
Well, it'd be 8605 divided by 750.
Well, typically people are staying with us probably between 20 and 30 days. Most people staying 30 days because we are not an emergency shelter, so to speak. The people that come into our shelter program are leaving house, either in one of our housing programs or and we've helped them find their own housing. So the numbers we are concerned with are how many people are leaving our shelter housed. So we are no longer just trying to get people off the streets for a couple nights, for a week, and then send them on their way. They are staying with us for a longer amount of time so that we can end the cycle they're in. We don't want to just Band-Aid the problem and provide them shelter for a short amount of time. We want to help end the cycle. And that's why by doing that, the days that people are staying in shelter with us are longer on an average, but we are also seeing through the third quarter of this year, we have about 65% housing rate for clients that leave the shelter.
questions?
Yeah. What do you do to prevent homelessness?
To our prevention program, we provide families and individuals who may be behind on rent. We provide help with that, with utilities. Sometimes it may be a situation where they're, in arrears, as I just said, or it may be a situation where they cannot afford, the couple $1,000s needed on the front end to get into housing. So we'll help folks with that. There's a wide variety of things that we do with our prevention program. Our prevention program is 100% private, donor funded. Asset does not provide us any funding for our prevention program.
Thank you.
Jody, this is Latifa. The last time you and I talked, you mentioned hiring at least 1 or 2 more people and expanding one of your programs. Was that the prevention, a prevention specialist, or was that a supportive living specialist?
So we have hired a supportive housing specialist. That's one of our most recent hires, who is doing our supportive housing program. So the lingo in human services is permanent supportive housing. We refer to it as supportive housing because I think permanent can be misleading. So this program is basically very similar to the transitional housing program that we've operated for some time. The difference being is there is not a hard end date for the 2 years folks can stay in transitional housing. This program is designed for those who live in our community, who are chronically homeless, who will always struggle to be stably housed. And we currently have, I believe, 4 or 5, I think we may be up to 5 apartments now, with individuals in this new program. And two of those households are individual, a family and an individual who have been chronically homeless in our community for more than 3 years. And we now have them housed.
Good. Super.
Jody, I have at least one last question is, have you opened up more of the bridge home, your capacity wise? I know you kind of limited that due to COVID. Have you expanded on that at all, or are you still limiting?
No, so we have always been, just to be clear, we have always been operating at full capacity, even though we've been operating out of motel rooms. We did not cut back our capacity. We found a way to cover the cost of continuing to operate at the full capacity we had available if we would have been able to use our congregate shelter space. In some cases, we even served more this year than we would have in the previous year. We have now, just in the last 2 weeks, started bringing men back to the main shelter, doing it in it's not completely full yet because we want to make sure we're still following protocols, that the new protocols we have put in are working, and make sure that it's safe before we add more individuals back into the main shelter for the men. But we're not limiting to just that. We're still keeping at our full occupancy capacity by utilizing hotel rooms. We just don't need as many now because we have, I think, maybe 6 men back over in the main shelter now. Women and families have always been in the shelter. We've had families in our 2 basement apartment units, and we've had women in the lower unit of our duplex. We also, of course, had them in the motels because there's more than 2 families and 3 women that we provide shelter to at a time.
So how many motel rooms are you still using?
I do not know that number off the top of my head. I have to ask my shelter director, but I think we were using maybe around 16, so we're probably down to 10 now.
That's good enough. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Well, do you see continued need past the next few months to continue using the motel rooms? Or do you think you'll be back to having all the people you're sheltering under your roof?
Well, we're always, at this point in time, until we have a new campus, we're always going to need to use motel rooms. We just, on any given night in Story County, there's over 700 individuals that are experiencing homelessness. And, not that we could ever attain to have every single person housed. We do have limited capacity based on the number of staff we have and the number of beds that we have for people to be in. So we will always be utilizing motel rooms, especially in situations when you're talking about families. We don't have shelter space for families. And our biggest percent, 31% of our clients are children under the age of 18. So that means that is families that we're working with is our biggest demographic. So we have to continue to use the motel rooms for them until we can have a campus that allows us to adequately provide the services for all of the demographics we serve.
Thanks, Jody. Great. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, you bet. If there's any other questions, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I'm always available to talk in more detail and answer more questions. And again, thank you for all you do to help those in our community who need to find hope in a home.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay, next we will move on to consideration of the May 18th meeting minutes that Shelley had emailed to us so we can see them ahead of time.
I move approval.
A second.
Then moved and seconded. Merkin,
Aye.
Basil,
Aye.
Hens, aye. Next is consideration of personnel actions.
Move approval of personnel actions as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Basil,
Aye.
Merkin,
Aye.
Hens, aye. Next is the consideration of claims.
I move approval of claims as listed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Merkin,
Aye.
Basil,
Aye.
Hens, aye. We're on to consent agenda. Was there anything that either of you wanted to pull from the consent agenda? I know there's a lot on today's consent agenda.
No, I would move approval of items listed on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Merkin,
Aye.
Basil, aye. Hens, aye. Looks like we are down to public hearing items. And so we have consideration of resolution 21-93, the budget amendment. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Board. How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
How are you? Marvelous. Okay, so in order to finalize this year's budget, we have to do it by May 31st because we have 30 days to allow people to appeal our amendment. So today's the day. Notice was published as required in all 3 newspapers on May 13th, so within the time frame. This final amendment is primarily to true up what the county will receive and spend for the year, okay? Most of the departments are having amendments for salaries since we only budgeted 95%, so we're truing up all the salaries. The I can go department by department if you'd like. I gave you the information back before when I asked for approval to publish, so if you have any questions on it, please feel free to ask. So the revenue increase from the last amendment is about 1.7%, which is $897,000, so that we're increasing revenues, net increasing revenues. And expenses are decreasing from last amendment by 1.19. Which is $714,000. A lot of the decrease is due to not getting some dollars we had anticipated for grants like FEMA, the $437,000 for HVAC, but we're also taking the expense out. So at this point in time, that's where we're at on the expenses. We're decreasing. The fund balances after this amendment, the general / supplemental fund is going to be about 29%, which is great because we like to budget for 25%. Of that, the unassigned amount is 7.2 million, which is 28% of our general fund. The rural ending fund balance 38%, which is amazing, and secondary roads is at 33%. The rural fund got revenues from CARES because of the salaries that the sheriff's office paid out. And it also got a boost from local option sales tax because of the change in the way that was distributed this year, okay? So that's why our rural fund balance is looking good. Any other questions? Any questions? You look confused. You wanted to know about the rural.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about the rural fund? And that makes sense because I think what we put in with the DOJ was for deputies' salaries.
So the DOJ, yes, we got all told $1.6 million, okay? And that was to cover salaries for a certain time frame. I'd originally deposited in the general fund, and then when we got the additional $400 and some thousand after the initial 1.2, I went, wait a minute. This is how these salaries were broken out. We paid out of the general fund, the supplemental fund, and the rural fund. So what I did was I adjusted everything so that a percent of it went to the rural fund because that's what the salaries were paid for. So we'll see how the auditors like that when they come.
It makes sense to me.
It makes perfect sense. That's where it was paid out of.
Mhm.
But who knows?
It's really great news to hear our fund balances are so good.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And just so you know, I already have this long a page of amendments to start next year, so.
All right. Any other questions before I open the public hearing? All right, with that, I will open the public hearing for discussion on, or for comments on consideration of resolution 21-93. If anyone would like to speak during the public hearing and you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. And, or if you're on the phone, please click *9 to unmute yourself. And we'll wait a few minutes to see if anyone would like to speak, or a few seconds, minute. We'll make sure that we've gone through the list to see if anyone wants to speak. Not seeing any, we will close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. And is there a motion?
I would move approval of resolution 21-93.
Second?
Okay, been moved and seconded. Basil?
Aye.
Merkin?
Aye.
Heavens, aye. Next, we'll move on to additional items, and here we have consideration of resolution 21-94, the appropriation amendment.
I'll just briefly go through this for you. When to amend the budget until the appropriation is done, the dollars can't be spent. So since we amended the budget, we probably should appropriate those dollars. We only appropriate expenses. So we're appropriating for the Board of Supervisors $18,000. The auditor we're taking $11,400 from. treasurer, 9,500, attorney minus 100,000, salaries on all of these are all of these related. Sheriff, 117,100, recorder, 3,000, animal control, I'm taking 33,900 away, Veterans Affairs, I'm adding 64. Conservation, I'm taking 708,000, that's a salary true-ups, but their acquisition, the 700,000 that's budgeted for the septic is not happening this year, so we're taking that out. So that's where that big chunk is coming from. Environmental health, we're increasing by 26,000, IRBM 2,800, community services taking 52,000 away. That's a position that just got filled, sat empty most of the year, so we're able to take out some dollars there. Human Services Center, 7,800, facilities, I'm taking 641, 617. I referred to the HVAC, or what's that project that's not gonna happen? Generator for this building, yeah. IT, 15,400, planning and development, I'm taking 24,500 from. Justice Center, adding 20, and countywide, adding 630,500.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion?
Okay, I would move approval of resolution number 21-94.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Merkin?
Aye.
Basil? Aye. Hens? Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of resolution 21-97, the rescinding of the face covering regulation. And I don't believe anyone is on for this one. This was, I think this was brought in for us to discuss or to consider in relation to the legislation that was signed by the governor's office.
I think I'm the one that asked that it be drafted, so I would move approval.
And second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Merkin?
Discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, discussion.
I just want to say I'm very sorry to see this happening. I think that the numbers are showing that that are way down. I think we're in a good place right now. My concern is that House File 847, as passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, does prohibit us now forever from having a face covering ordinance, or that would, and I think that's really too bad because we don't know that there won't need to be one again. And I'm very concerned about what it says about the belief in local control. So it's with reluctance, but it's something that we need to do right now. But I wish we weren't in the situation that we have been placed in on this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very disappointed that our hands are now tied moving forward. I am glad to see the vaccination rates continuing to improve and the numbers continuing to drop, though.
Yes, and our public
Hopefully
service.
we'll keep going that direction.
And the public service announcement would be the next 3 Saturdays at the farmers market. Story County Public Health is going to have vaccine clinics. So there's additional availability that I hope that people who've not yet been vaccinated will avail themselves of.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to say I appreciate you bringing this forward. I'm also kind of sad that you had to bring it forward because our local authority has been removed from us. And I certainly believe that us putting in our face covering ordinance has helped to minimize the spread that you've seen or the numbers that we've seen in other counties and the death rate compared to some of the other counties. It's just some of the proactive and preventative things that we have done.
I think we had a good partnership with Story County and City of Ames and Iowa State University. And this was part of it. The requiring face coverings was a big part of it, and we all were there together on it. So, yeah, well.
Yeah, as the new person coming in and walking in to those discussions with all the jurisdictional leaders, I was really impressed with the level of cooperation that was happening, and coordination, and just the overall decency and ability to talk about difficult and controversial sometimes, unfortunately, issues. It's too bad that more people aren't aware of all of that really impressive cooperation that is happening and was happening.
And I think Supervisor Merkin, as you said, this prohibits even into the future, which is really quite concerning because you have no clue, you know, the next pandemic or other local potential health outbreak, and you're hampered by being able to address it if we know that masking is an effective means to help minimize.
Yeah, and it was put in last minute in an appropriations bill for education. And I know some people think if it's appropriations law, it only lasts as long as that appropriation. But as you know, that's not true. It's there until it's repealed by the legislature. So that was, it didn't have the advantage of having any debate or any time for constituents of any, you know, at all to get hold of their legislator. It was just slipped in and passed and signed, you know, in a couple days. So, yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. Let's hope that we see a little more understanding of local control and what local government can do to help keep people safe and healthy.
Agree. No further discussion or comments?
No.
Okay. If that, we've had a motion by Supervisor Merkin and the second was by Supervisor Basil. So we'll move to vote now. Merkin?
Aye.
Basil? Aye. Hidden? Aye. Next, we're moving on to discussion and consideration of eliminating the face covering policy for employees.
Good morning, board.
Good morning.
So we've been getting quite a few questions now that the CDC has updated their guidance as far as when to wear face covering, if you've been vaccinated or haven't been vaccinated. So I wanted to bring the face covering policy to the board and see for your consideration to remove it and go with CDC guidance in regards to face covering. So this would be if you're fully vaccinated. CDC says you do not need to wear a face covering. If you are not, they still recommend you wear face coverings in common areas, which would be, you know, going to the restroom, break rooms, different areas like that, in vehicles with coworkers, different needs like that. So, and this policy would kind of flex with CDC guidance. Am I right in reading that? So if something were to change, we just go with, we send, so if we wouldn't have the policy anymore. But we would send out an email with the CDC guidance saying this was approved by the board, this is where we're going, and we'll follow up with any changes as that information is shared or issued by the CDC.
And then would we also post something about CDC guidance in our buildings? We've taken down the posters we had previously. Would we replace that with something that just said CDC guidance is this?
We can do that.
And maybe that masks are recommended since we can no longer require.
Yep. Masks are recommended. I would mention that, you know, we're not removing any of the plexiglass barriers. We're not removing the hand sanitizer stations. There will still be face coverings available for anybody that needs them as they come into the building or wants to wear them. Employees, you know, some may choose to wear those face coverings, even if they're vaccinated. So I think that's the direction a lot of organizations have taken. And we're getting quite a few questions from employees in regards to this. So
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it forward. Yeah. And I also appreciate you saying that some people may still continue to wear a mask even though they've been vaccinated. So someone wearing a mask should not instantly, we should not instantly assume that they are not vaccinated or their position on anything. Either way, that's what they're choosing to do to keep themselves or their loved ones safe.
Yeah, and we are not asking employees if they are vaccinated or not. We would just ask that they would follow the guidelines. So.
Any further discussion?
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
I would move approval of eliminating the face covering policy for employees and implementing CDC guidance on wearing masks as a response to COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So would that be effective immediately?
I can draft an email and send it out this early afternoon.
That'd be great.
All right.
I have nothing else.
Okay. Basil?
Aye.
Merkin?
Aye.
Evans? Aye.
Thanks, Alyssa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for all your work on these policies over the last year plus. Good job.
Next we'll move on to departmental reports. We have the IVRM quarterly report, and I saw Joe come in with the plan.
That better not be wild parsnip.
Oh, I bet you it is.
I had to bring it.
Nope.
I just had to. I had to get it from Boone County. There's not any in Story.
What?
Just-
Right.
No, there is. There's plenty in Story County. This is actually just in my yard and on my roadside. Oh, good morning, board.
morning.
Nice to see you. Thanks
Nice
for
to
having
see
me
you too.
back. I'm gonna take my glass off because they're getting fogged up. You got my report in front of you. So I'm gonna go through this as quick as I can. Landowner, for administration, this, work, Tyler and I, we're kind of our own administrative support staff. We get a lot of great help from both the engineer office and conservation with Mary Ann and Bree, and if I name names, and I'll exclude somebody, so everyone helps us out. But we do quite a bit. A lot of calls this year on people wanting to take their acreage and do something besides mowing. And, little native plants here and there, things like that, or the roadsides, which I'll cover later down, called re-veg projects, meaning they're probably brome right now and they want us to come in and spray it out and plant wildflowers and grasses, which we don't always do everywhere because it has to be the right situation. So that's been going on. As far as equipment rentals, I'll just jump to that. We may break a record, but it's, with the rain, we're getting more rain tonight, which is good. It keeps the equipment out of the field. But so far, I think the record was 47 landowners and operators that rented our equipment. We're at 21, so we're getting out there with the folks in Story County. It's really nice to have them come to our shop or the 4-H building. As you've been there and rent our equipment, we get to chat with them for a little bit, and it's just really good networking with these folks. So about 130 acres of natives, the prairie stuff, and 41 acres of cool season, which typically means like waterways or buffer strips, things like that. So, but anyway, I'm going to jump back up to administrative. So the Purple Wave auction, we haven't done that. The DOT auction is where we would take our older equipment, get it off inventory, make sure we turned everything into Shelley on time for the most part. And so we tried this Purple Wave and it went great. We did get that pickup, the 2004 sold at a fairly decent price. So really competitive. With that, we've been working on putting together purchases for the next round of pickups. We've been told that they're 6 to 8 months out. So we want to get on that, get it approved so we can get a pickup back online. Plant management plans and plant inventories. We're going to do some of that today. The plant inventories is both administrative and field work. So what we're doing is we're going out to 3 of our roadsides, bigger right-of-way projects that we've done starting in 1990, which was Riverside Road by Martin Marietta, and then S14 extension. If you drive like down to Bondurant and Elkhart, south of Highway 210, it looks really colorful right now. So, and the other one's 580th by Brecky, by Brecky's, that's 580th. So we're gonna go in there and we're gonna walk it and inventory everything that we know, native. And we have a checkoff list, and we're gonna compare it with the seed list that we planted back in that year. So like S14 extension was 2001, Riverside Road was 1990, and 580th was 2000, and I don't know, 4 or 5. But anyway, we're just gonna look and see what is a comparison and see how things are going. It's kind of fun to do that. So next, you'll see some grants coming through. We are going to apply for funding to help fund the new pickup coming through. The cap on that for the Living Roadway Trust Fund is $10,000. So as long as it's a working truck, if you can put a fifth wheel on, or a trailer, or put a tank in the back, just not a normal pickup driving around. It has to be a work truck, heavy duty. They'll help you fund that. And then a little bit of fire protective clothing and some weather monitoring devices. Hopefully we get those funded. And then I didn't want to bog the meeting down, but I should have brought a no spray sign in. Tyler and I didn't have a lot of time there's 5 people right now that officially get paid and have the sign, but there probably should be 55 or 25. A lot of people. We just have to figure out the process to, they call in and it's their job to come to the office and do all this. But through the COVID, it just didn't work out so well. So maybe once we open up a little bit, things get a little more relaxed. They'll come in, we can actually give them the signs, they can pay. Otherwise, we're kind of meeting in the alley, give them the signs, and not the alley, but so that's one of my goals, is to get that program going a little more. Burning, self-explanatory. We had a dry fall. We did get some burning done in the fall. We got both nurseries done that we collect seed from with those combines. That's great for that. And some roadsides. And we didn't have anything crazy happen. By the way, roadsides are getting tougher and tougher to burn because of the utilities, because of the traffic, and because of a lot of no-till, which is good. So if you have corn stalks on the side, it's a little tougher to burn, but we like no-till. No-till's good. But we are getting it done. And I know the conservation side, once things straightened out and the wind stopped, they really worked hard and got some burn units completed. So seeding completed. I think Darren and his crew, they're getting wound up now. They're just getting started to get some projects done. So we're, 7 work orders. Tyler's out today seeding up by Story City. We're caught up there. We do have some shoulders we need to seed, and we've done some hand seeding on some areas. I mentioned, we have 5 work orders open, which is really nothing. And so we can be behind a lot more than that. So we could catch up easily. We'll see how many miles of shoulder we get seeded. Re-veg projects, we have 4 of those. I can explain a little more because people may listen. They buy a property or build a house out in the country, and it's great. And they don't want their roadside and grown. They want wildflowers and grasses, but not all roadsides meet that requirement. For instance, you may have too many driveways, and so the tall vegetation is not going to work for them. Or it may be too wet, or maybe it's next to woodland, so it's not going to work where it's shaded and things like that. So we try to do what we can. Roadside spraying. So right now, Brittany, one of our interns, is down in DMAC testing together pesticide applicators license from the state. We have another person that isn't quite ready yet. She didn't come on until a couple weeks ago, so that will happen. Typically, and we're spraying now, and we have the new spray truck, that bigger spray truck we bought with GPS and everything. So we're at the learning curve. Typically, we do about 225 centerline miles out of the 960, which isn't a lot. You know, some counties spray every mile. We spot spray what we can for Canada thistle and other weeds, but for me, in the last 2.5 decades, we don't get a lot of pressure to spray every mile. We just spray where we think we need to, and it's worked well. I don't get a lot of calls. I don't think you get a lot of calls. And I'm going to talk briefly about the weed commissioner duties because we have someone new, and you may get some calls. So I'm the weed commissioner. Tyler is the deputy weed commissioner. Well, I made him deputy. I don't know. We can call him deputy weed commissioner. And that, by law, is what you guys, by Iowa code, appointed me to do. And so there are just a few plants on the new and improved weed commissioner list, okay? It's an old weed law, but about 4 years ago, they actually took a look at it and got some things changed. And they took a bunch of old plants off that don't match, that really does not cause economic loss to the landowner. And some of these plants were put on post World War II. And when there wasn't a lot of or prior to World War II, where there wasn't a lot of herbicide, things like that could break the little farmer with all the weed pressure. So a lot of those weeds went off. There's just a handful now. So we're mandated by Iowa code, if we get a call or see those, to come in and do what we can. And that, I don't have a list in front of me, but Canada thistle. I just got a call yesterday on poison hemlock. So as a weed commissioner, 75% of my calls, and they're not a lot, 20 maybe over the year, is inside corporate city limits. A lot in Ames. Now Ames and I work together really well. They have a person that will help route the calls, and then the Parks and Rec folks can physically go out and do the work. So we don't do a lot, or I don't. I basically talk to the people and try to figure out the situation. Sometimes it's a neighbor. Neighbors aren't getting along. They have a different philosophy of how to keep their yard. So there's a yard mowing ordinance in some incorporated areas. I don't deal with grass that's too tall. Okay, all I'm worried about are weeds. If there's not a noxious weed on that site, there's not much the landowner can go with the scissors and cut it off and remove the reproductive structure, and that is okay with Iowa code. But at the end of the day, I like talking to them and trying to figure it out, because what happens if it doesn't get taken care of, then it just repeats itself year after year. So that's kind of what I do for drainage ditch. You may get some calls, so just let me know. I think all of you have done that. And I call them up if the problem isn't getting taken care of, or I don't think it's going to, then I'll send them a certified letter. And that is the start of the weed resolution that you saw today, which is posted, that says, hey, we can do this. And then the registered letter. And by that time, 99.9%, there's just been one time in all these years, someone didn't comply. They'll let us go in, or I'll find someone to do it, and they'll pay them to control their weeds. So with that, I have to say that I'm going to put a glove on for this. This is not a noxious weed. You guys mind if I do this? Or?
No.
Okay. So this is wild parsnip. You can see the taproot. I had to pull this. It was in the shoulder, so I broke a bunch off, but so it's a biennial, so it grows by seed only. And right now it's what we've called bolted, or mainly it's just a little rosette the first year as it's young, and becomes an adult the next year it bolts. And this can happen in a week. So now's the time to control this plant, because once it sets seed, it's basically dead on the stem, okay? And so what happens is we get our calls, and we're not mandated by law to control this plant. If it's around somebody's mailbox, and they're really upset, we will go out. But now is the time to do it. Once it sets seed, what happens is people mow that, and then they spread the seed. And so 10 years ago, I can remember I was at a baseball tournament and Channel 5 called me, but they had already interviewed somebody else. And I remember they're like, hey, there's this new toxic plant in Iowa. Well, if you look it up, there wasn't a botanist that said in Iowa in 1926, he saw this in every county roadside in 1926. It's been cultivated for the root throughout ancient history. So it was brought over here to eat. It is what they call, it's a big word. And I'm not, I don't want to say it and mispronounce it, but I'll just say it. This is a phototoxic, okay? So the juice, if you weed eat it and get it on your skin, and then the sun hits it, so it's light sensitive. Today's a little cloudy. You can still probably get some bumps that, that's really juicy. And so our staff, and I don't know if we have facilities management or any other staff, anyone listening, when you're weed eating or mowing this stuff, and you gotta have long sleeves on or just stay away from it because it will cause water blisters. And you've all seen the pictures probably. So I actually saw somebody taking pictures in it at Ada Hayden one day for graduation. And I went down and told them, hey, get away from that. And they didn't have sleeves on. They were all dolled up, ready to take pictures. And I was just hoping that it wasn't too late because it was a hot, sunny day. So wild parsnip.
It's similar to golden Alexander.
Okay,
What's
good.
the biggest difference between that and the golden
So
Alexander?
I picked some golden Alexander.
Super.
This is Zizia aurora, which is, I think I pronounced the second part right. This is a native plant, okay? And it kind of looks like it. So this is already bloomed and will set seed and soon. But you can see they kind of have the same leaves, the same look. So sometimes this stuff gets sprayed, thinking it's wild golden Alexander. You see it now on the roadsides. And parsnip isn't quite yellow yet, but it gets mistaken all the time for that plant.
I have a reason for asking, obviously. Does the wild parsnip bloom later than the golden Alexander?
Yes, yeah.
Super.
Well,
I
and
have a ton of yellow, and I think it's all golden Alexander.
it is. The sea of yellow right now is golden Alexander. And the thing is, we could talk forever. How many hours we got? I'll bring more plants.
Just come over to my house.
So you can fake these out. If you mow them, there's still enough energy in this taproot. Just like if you mow a dandelion, but they're a perennial, but there's still enough energy for this to bloom, but it'd just be stunted.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then this was right next to Zizia. Does anybody know what this is?
That's spiderwort.
Yeah, right. This is
What?
spiderwort. So you'll see this drive down 580th on 13th Street going by Brecky or Holden's greenhouse. It's just a really wonderful plant. Grows where it's wet. We planted this stuff.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you
Yeah.
were saying it's a noxious
No,
weed.
if you see-
No,
No, if you see it-
Golden Alexander's
This-
what I
this-
have blooming right now.
This is one of our money makers. So this is in all our seed mixes. So that's kind of the history of the weed law. I'm glad it's perfect timing to be here as the plants develop and people call in. Let's see, I'll kind of wrap it up, but the other thing too is we're getting ready to, we already have the contract for some brush contractors to spray the drainage ditches for the brush that we've cut or logged. So that group is a new group that it was not, because there's only been one contractor all these years that would bid. So now we had at least two. And so we have someone who will spray the resprouts in the open ditches and will relieve a lot of the pressure on Tyler and I. And so that's good. And then we did get two bids for roadside spraying for brush. And the townships, like you see here, and for those listening, and we don't have that contract finalized. I got to think about this a little bit. We have a new contractor that we don't really know much about, and we have somebody who we've worked with a lot, and I just got to do a little more research on this. But in the meantime, Howard, Warren, Lincoln, Sherman, Richland, Howard, Warren, Lincoln, and Sherman and Richland townships are the ones that we're going to try to hit. So basically, mid-northern Story County. We're gonna start on the east side and go west. So we're gonna try to keep the brush down, and it's really important. I think I reported through Duratio the damage that it was nice to see that a lot of we didn't spend a lot of time cutting trees off the roads from the brush that were in the road sides proper. Most of the trees were on the private side that came over. And so we like trees. They just need to be where they're supposed to, and they don't always belong in the right of way. Huh. So, any questions?
Have you found lots of brush in the right of way that people have just left there from the derecho?
Have I found?
Just brush, because I saw people after the derecho out in unincorporated areas putting, or it says.
You know, there's burn piles out, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a problem. I haven't been made aware of it. There's probably several out there. Back in the day, there was a big, huge push not to even have burn piles in the ditches if you drive around, you know, and it's interesting to me that you may own several acres of land, but your burn pile for your drywall and all the other garbage for your acreage is in the ditch in front of your house. But anyway, so, all right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Next one, we have Conservation's quarterly report. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Well, shoot, I know I have to follow Joe and I don't have any plants to show you, so you'll just have to bear with me, I guess. Thanks, Joe, for that.
Snakes.
You have my report, so I just want to augment a couple things that are in the report. Maybe since the time of writing or things that I want to note. First off, first item on there is regarding the derecho last year. We want to thank Todd for his assistance with insurance claim on this, and we did just yesterday find out that we'll be getting, I believe, $92,000 back on that insurance claim for debris removal associated with that derecho. So that's good news. That will be mean that we'll receive less from FEMA, which is ultimately very good because FEMA, only covers between the state and federal portion, only covers 90%. So it's nice to have that insurance claim. Next, in regard to paving, Heart of Iowa Nature Trail and others, last year we paved, or I should say last year we finished up paving over 9 miles of trail. And so significant efforts, a lot of fundraising went into that, grant support went into that. And so we were able to get quite a bit done. We did just receive news that we received another SERPTA grant for paving the next section of the Heart of Iowa, which would be from the Skunk River Bridge, just at Cambridge to, not quite to S14. And so that'll be nice to be able to get that section done. We're also applied for a federal stimulus or some CARES funding grant to do that section and to take that a little further. So we won't know about that grant until July or August, and we'll probably have another grant request come up in the interim here for that we'll apply for that same project. So I see that Emily left, but I did want to thank her. We worked with Emily in submitting a request to Congressman Feenstra's office for some federal funding for paving the Heart of Iowa. And so very supportive of her effort, but in the end, the senator opted not to move local requests forward. So, certainly respect his decision on that. Hickory Grove Lake renovation. I think all of you all of you know about our July 10th celebration. Very happy that this one will be in conjunction with Colo Crossroads Festival. So they'll be holding that at the park, and together between the city and the county here, we'll host this event. That'll be both a Colo Crossroads and a Hickory Grove reopening ceremony or celebration. So Linda, we've got you down for doing some remarks there, so appreciate that. And hope that if you guys are available, that you all can attend. That'll be a fun day for everyone, and I'm sure, hopefully, Mother Nature will cooperate and we'll get some rain in the lake and get that filled back up before then. Let's see, the rest of these items are pretty self-explanatory. Water quality monitoring, I just mentioned that we're undergoing a process right now of hiring that watershed coordinator. Again, I want to thank the board for that. Our goal is to have that position or have someone in that position on July 1st or thereabouts. So we're moving forward with our application process on that. Other than that, our education programs are really picking back up. We've had a lot of field trips the last couple weeks. Of course, school's almost out now, but we've really been re-engaging with schools and been keeping very busy on the educational standpoint. One thing that I've mentioned before, and I'll just keep this brief, but what we did see with COVID is engagement with the public on lots of different levels on ways that we haven't maybe traditionally engaged with before. And so that's been encouraging and been really well received by the public. Anything from, small group hikes to little service opportunities for folks, to small group volunteer efforts and just you name it, but more intimate experiences than large group experiences, and that's been really well received. I can't tell you how many positive comments and cards that we get about what we've been offering from educational and engagement aspects. So that's just been really encouraging. And as we re-engage with schools and some of our traditional methods, we sure want to make every effort we can to continue to do some of these things that we have been doing. So they've been so well received. So having said that, I'd take any questions. I'll keep it brief today.
There's a couple of projects that have been really long-term ones, and I just wondered, I hope they're nearing completion. I know one is the Army Corps of Engineers, the land there. Have you heard anything yet on easement and how that's, if that's kind of the last thing that has to get into place, right?
Yeah, you were breaking up there a little bit, Linda, but your question is in regard to the Army Corps and where we stand with that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I still need to coordinate with Ethan on getting that easement finalized and put before the state archaeologist. We did the if you will, the exhibits that went with that easement. So those are ready to go. We just need to get that easement itself finalized. Once we get that done, the Corps has said that they're ready to move this forward, which could take some time yet, but they're ready to move it forward out of their real estate or local office up the ladder for all the necessary approvals.
They always seem to find one more thing, but hopefully we've gotten through them. This sounds like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I know you've got lots of plans for that and good things we can do with that land. So I'm looking forward to that. The other one is the Hickory Grove, the septic system, the sewer.
Sure.
That one we've been talking about for quite some time too, and that's one we've really, I think getting that one done is really going to mean, kind of a culmination of what we wanted to do over at Hickory. Have you heard back from the Iowa utilities yet?
I've just had, yeah, thanks for that question too, Linda. I've just had a couple conversations with their project manager in the last week. So that's been really encouraging. That's 2 more than I've had with them in months. So that's very positive. But they're still very interested in this, and quite frankly, they're struggling to get it through their attorney's office as well. So that's where it sits. Their project manager and their attorney have reengaged, and that I believe that I've got it on my tickler to call them again the end of this week. So they should have comments prepared by the end of this week that then we can take to the next step and hopefully get something to the city. My goal is before the event at Hickory Grove. If not before, then at least at some point in July. So that's our goal, would be to get it to the city council in July.
That'd be great if it would time with the reopen at Hickory, but we'll be in touch on
Yeah.
that.
Very good.
Thank you. Those are just 2 huge things to me that you've been working on for quite some time. You keep going back and keep pushing them along, and we're going to see the culmination of that, and that's going to be a good thing. So thank you for working.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but thanks for the report and thanks for the updates on everything, but particularly your question, Linda, on the Army Corps of Engineers. That has been a long process.
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
I think the 1960s.
Yeah, I remember when they first got the land.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either, but thank you, Mike, for your report as always and all of your work.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we have no additional reports, upcoming agenda items. Anything that we're aware of at this time? Okay. I think one upcoming agenda item will be for placing someone on the asset board. Would be probably at our next meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll move on to public forum number 2, comments from the public on items not on this agenda. The board may not take any action on the comments due to the requirements of open meetings law, but may do so in the future. We'll open public comment number 2. If you'd like to make comment, please use the raise hand function or do *9 to unmute yourself. And I see a chat.
It's Margaret. She just was thanking Linda for the Hickory Grove link.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Are we seeing anyone for public comment? All right. Seeing none, we will close public forum number 2. Liaison assignments, committee updates, announcements. Supervisor Merkin, do you want to start?
Well, let's see. We have CCMT meeting tomorrow, correct?
Correct.
It looks like on Thursday, I have a regional broadband study steering committee meeting at noon. And then I'm going to be taking a few days off over the Memorial Day weekend. There's a couple other meetings, and I think that's it. There's a ribbon cutting I'm going to miss in Huxley, I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's mostly the broadband study. The survey is all done, and hopefully we're going to be hearing some results pretty soon that will help us make some decisions that are going to help us with the infrastructure monies that we'll be looking at. So don't have anything else.
I've got an involuntary annexation meeting on my calendar for tonight, Ames. I don't know if that's still on or not. 6.
There's a certain.
I don't have it on my calendar, but that doesn't mean I didn't miss putting something on my, oh, maybe I do.
Yeah.
I see voluntary annexation on city
There's an
meetings
MPO
agenda.
meeting at 6.
Which one?
MPO meeting at 6 o'clock, right in front of Ames Council meeting. I do have that. I missed that.
Okay, I'll double check.
Is it the annexation of the old Crestview?
Yeah.
That's tonight.
It might have changed, I might have missed it.
I'm not sure.
Then, the Data Economic Development Council's business breakfast tomorrow morning.
Got that.
Got Center for Creative Justice Board meeting Wednesday night, and CFR meeting Thursday night. And then Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center meeting on Friday. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so I also have on Wednesday, I have the Boone Story Drainage District meeting as well. I'm gonna also go do a ride along in secondary roads tomorrow afternoon. Had tried to do that last year, just didn't work out, and then COVID hit, and so about a year in the making to
Yeah.
fine, and just doing a half a day, may do another time a half a day, but doing that. Thursday, I have a HERDA meeting, speaking at Leadership Ames. We have our NACO breakout group. I have CICS meeting, and then Friday, I have the Ames Economic Development Board meeting, and then our also our NACO meeting as well. And then sometimes I zoom into the local workforce development one, since I'm on the CEO board. I like to just kind of listen in, and that just kind of depends schedule-wise, and they meet every other week.
So
So
did you
that's why
say
it's on my schedule.
There is an AEDC board meeting. Is that the full board?
Yeah, 7 a.m. and they're doing that one both they're doing a hybrid in
Or shows
person.
canceled on my calendar.
I got an email from, I'll find it and forward to you. I got an email
Thank you.
from Amy on it.
Yeah, I
Yep,
appreciate that.
yep.
Margaret Jane's retirement party is on Thursday.
Oh, yes, that is as well, yes.
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
Yes.
She's not retiring, that's just a rumor.
Yeah.
I know, I know. It was canceled, the party.
We canceled it.
The retirement is canceled.
All right. With that, unless there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Merkin,
Aye.
Basil,
Aye.
Evans, aye. We are adjourned. Thank you for joining us today.